Welcome back to BLOCKTV. It's time now for chain breakers. The crypto data space is at a critical juncture, with government regulators citing a lack of transparency and clear data as critical to their inability to properly regulate the space. And numerous private actors accusing the space of being run by rampant manipulation. So, in order to keep on top of the market and find out what the latest trends are, we turn over to the experts at CoinGecko. And I speak now with co-founder Bobby Ong. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Welcome, pleasure.
All right, so Bobby, you recently tweeted out your predictions for 2020. 2020 is right around the corner. Your first one, you spoke about the relationship between Bitcoin halving and miners. What was that about?
Yeah, I just posted on my prediction. I made a top 10 predictions of what I think will happen in 2020. So the first one is about Bitcoin price halving and with miners. So as you all know that the Bitcoin price, Bitcoin rewards, block rewards will halve next year. This is a highly anticipated event and it's expected to happen sometime in May 2020 where the block reward will halve. And what we expect is a lot of people are expecting the price to increase. However, if this did not happen, we're very worried that a lot of miners will probably shut down operations if the price do not increase. ASIC miner manufacturers such as Bitmain, Canaan are looking forward to selling more hardware machines. But if Bitcoin price do not support this, Bitcoin price does not increase next year, then all these guys will be in deep trouble. So these guys will have a lot of incentive to support prices. It'll be very interesting 2019 for Bitmain. 2020 will be very interesting for them. Jihan, for example, is now back as a CEO of Bitmain. One of the biggest, I guess, the biggest action point for him in Bitmain would be to lead Bitmain to a Nasdaq IPO. So you have seen that Canaan has actually done an IPO this year, and I guess the biggest risk is for Bitmain to follow suit next year. Yeah, I think it's very interesting, and it will be interesting to see how Bitcoin price react next year.
Mm-hmm. But if the Bitcoin halving actually doesn't bring a rise in price, if it actually brings a drop in price, that means the miners are getting half the reward. And like you said, that brings major strain on the miners and the mining equipment producers like Bitmain. But Bitmain, interestingly, Jihan Wuhan, he just came back, and his first order of business was he actually bet a big that the price will jump. He pretty much made three major changes. He assumed the risk of the Bitcoin price on himself and not the miners. He's pretty much putting out put options to miners to guarantee them a price on Bitcoin. He's also doing this co-mining with miners where they will cover the cost of electricity. So this is a really big bet by Bitmain. If the price of the halving actually causes Bitcoin to go down, will Bitmain be hit the worst out of all the miners?
Yeah, I think they'll be very deeply affected. Actually, if you look at the Bitcoin hash rate this year in 2019, it actually hit an all-time high. So there's been a lot of interest among miners to purchase new mining hardware equipment. So the ASIC manufacturers such as Bitmain, Canaan are actually doing really well this year. I mean, they have to be bullish, otherwise they will not be able to sell those machines. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. If the price do not increase next year, these guys will be very much in trouble, and that's definitely just going to be bad news because news leading up to the IPO for Bitmain will be, if they can't sell those Bitcoin miners, it'll be very hard for them.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned the Bitmain IPO. Now, recently the co-founder McCree was kicked out of the company. What case does McCree have? How solid is this case to fight back against that force out?
Yeah, so I think if you look at the shareholders list of Bitmain, it's actually really interesting because McCree actually is the largest shareholder of Bitmain, and for Jihan to actually kick McCree out of the company and come back as the CEO. First, I have no idea how he managed to pull it off, but I mean, he managed to do it. And obviously, as the largest shareholder, McCree must have some grudges against Jihan. It's basically this squabble between co-founder has gone public and it's not going to be good. So I think at some point, McCree is going to bring together a lawsuit. I hope they can resolve their differences because Bitmain has been such a great company in building up the space. They've been doing a lot of things correct, but the squabbles between the two co-founders has seen Bitmain lost a lot of market share. I think one of the biggest examples you can see is in the Bitcoin mining pool ecosystem. So sometime in August this year, Bitmain actually owned up to 40% of their market share. of Bitcoin mining pool hash rate. So they own BTC.com, Npool, and also a controlling interest in VRBTC. But ever since the drama came out public, where Jihan coming back as CEO and all, they've now lost the top two largest mining pool, and now Pool In and F2 Pool are the two largest mining pools in Bitcoin. So it'll be very interesting to see how things go because these two squabbles between the two co-founders. Bitmain is a very interesting company because it's largely held, the shares of Bitmain are largely held by employees and founders, in the sense that there are not that many institutional investors. So that's probably one of the reasons why the governance is not as strong compared to the other companies that are going for an IPO. But if they do manage to pull off an IPO, it'll be very interesting, because I think that because most of the shares are held by employees and founders, so what happens then is I would foresee a lot of these new employees, once their options fully vest, they become very rich, and then you sort of become like a PayPal mafia style investment where all these employees will start leaving Bitmain and start investing in the ecosystem or start new companies and so on.
And do you see that effect, that all of a sudden these former or these current crypto lovers and workers will become flush with the money? Do you see that having a very positive impact on the crypto sphere, where now there's more money for investment and more, more people available to start these new companies?
Yeah, most definitely. Actually, we are already starting to see early trends of this happening. So some of these early employees of Bitmain, they do not want to stay on to the IPO. They've already left and started their own company. So like some of them are like What's Miner. In fact, Pool In was started by Bitmain ex-employees as well. So some of these guys are coming out of Bitmain and working in the mining space, challenging Bitmain itself. But that being said, there are so many other ecosystem players in the space. So a lot of these Bitmain employees will invest in other exchanges and other infrastructure providers, and this will create a virtuous effect in the crypto ecosystem, especially those coming out from China.
Mm-hmm. Now, I must note for the record that that former Bitmain employee who did go on to make his own company in the What Miner, he actually was just arrested for embezzlement charges in China, but we'll see, that's still developing. Next up, you spoke about in your predictions about exchanges possibly or shifting to start charging a flat monthly fee for unlimited trades. So where do you see that happening?
So yeah, through our experience in CoinGecko, in 2019, we've seen a strong growth in number of exchanges, or up to this point in 2019, we've seen over 400 exchanges getting tracked on CoinGecko. We've seen a lot of interest in growth of new spot exchanges. But I think what we believe will be that the growth of new spot exchanges will slow down, as many people realize that it's actually really hard to run and operate and be profitable as an exchange. So if a lot of these exchanges, their revenue strategy is basically through listing token for fee, and then through charging a percentage fee for each trade. But some of these new guys that come in and they might want to start challenging the status quo, they might say, like, they might go do a Robinhood style exchange where they charge a flat $9 fee for unlimited free trades, and then as a large trader, you'll be very incentivized to move your trades over there. So with good token selection, this will queue up. The tier 1 exchange will be pretty okay, they won't die, but this will queue up a lot of the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 exchanges. So we're starting to see early trends of this. So Level Exchange in the US is starting to do this thing. It's invested by Coinbase Ventures, and it charges a $9 per month fee for unlimited free trades. Granted, there are not that many tokens yet, but I won't be surprised if 2020 bring about a lot of these new exchanges charging a flat monthly fee, and this will disrupt the exchange industry as we know it.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope that if this does bring the downfall of those lower tier exchanges, then that will kind of consolidate the exchanges to be better in security, and hopefully that will lead to less exchange hacking being pulled off. Now, you did mention that you did see the shift towards a flat monthly fee, but do you think that they will stop also the listing fees, or listing fees is kind of, this is the norm in crypto, and if you want to be listed, you're going to have to pay a big fee?
Yeah, especially among centralized exchanges. So what happens is decentralized crypto exchanges are following what the traditional markets are charging, where if you want to get listed on New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq, you pay a listing fee. So I don't think this will disappear, but in terms of the decentralized exchanges, not that many are charging, or if they do charge, it will not be so high. So yes, I don't think it will disappear, most of this listing fee.
Do you think that these high listing fees are a negative for the crypto sphere? Do you think that they unfairly keep promising projects that can't afford yet to these listing fees? Do you think that it kind of provides a sort of gatekeeper effect to keep out the small projects?
So I think it is a problem for exchanges who are faking their volume. So a lot of these exchanges, they are outright faking their volume, making it appear like they are bigger than what they actually are. And then they use all this fake fabricated volume going to projects and say like, look, we are this big, we have all these users, and therefore you need to pay us $500,000 for listing, for example. And that to me is completely wrong, ethically and morally and legally as well. I mean, in terms of whether it will unfairly disadvantage small projects, yes, definitely disadvantage small projects. So yeah, I mean, I hope that competition among exchanges will intensify next year, and then this listing fee and will go down. But I think in terms of the tier one exchanges, like because liquidity begets liquidity, what we'll see is that a lot of liquidity will start being focused on the large exchanges. So these exchanges will have all the leverage to charge the listing fee that they want to charge to the exchange, to the projects.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the other side of the coin, of course, is DeFi. Now, you said that DeFi will grow in this upcoming year. What do you see for DeFi in 2020?
Yeah, so I'm very optimistic about DeFi. I would say that DeFi has a lot of opportunity for growth. Everyone that I'm talking to is really excited about DeFi. So if you look at the total value locked, basically amount of Ether or crypto Bitcoin locked into DeFi applications, if you look at the stats for 2019, basically we started the year at about we started the year at about 270 million US dollars locked in DeFi. At this point in time, we have about 650 million US dollar locked in DeFi. So that's about a 2.8x growth in DeFi. I would say for 2020, like I would definitely say we will hit over 1 billion US dollars in total value locked in DeFi contracts. And then I think for the fact that at this point in time, a lot of developers are working on DeFi applications. I think at this point in time, we have about 30 DeFi applications, 20 DeFi applications that are popular. I would say that because of all the interest that are going on, I would say that we will have over 100 DeFi applications by the end of 2020. And not just DeFi applications. DeFi applications are mostly focused on Ethereum right now, and then there's one big one on the Bitcoin Lightning Network. What I think will happen is a lot of other smart contract platforms will also start having a DeFi play, and we'll see some of these DeFi applications being working on other blockchains such as Ethereum or EOS or Tron or some other smart contract platforms. However, there's something to take note of. I think there is a lot of risk in DeFi, and this is not something that is talked about a lot. At least I think one of these DeFi applications will be hacked. Some people will lose money. Money will be drained from these contracts, and people will be reminded that, hey, these DeFi applications are paying high interest rate because there are inherent smart contract risks in these platforms. And therefore, because of that hack, we're starting to see growth of DeFi insurance, DeFi derivatives, and this will be the catalyst for the growth of these DeFi insurance and derivatives for 2020.
Mm-hmm. And with all this DeFi development going on, and you see this tremendous growth, do you think DeFi is where we will finally see our first killer app?
It's really hard to say whether we will see the killer application coming from DeFi. I think we are still at an early stage yet. A lot of these DeFi applications, DeFi developers talk about building DeFi applications for the underbanked and unbanked people in the world. But the fact is a lot of these people have not even stepped into Africa or have not talked to many of these underbanked people. So it's hard to say, but we will see. I mean, Jack Dorsey of Twitter is actually going to move to Africa, so maybe he might build something that will bring it to mainstream as a killer application. But yeah, I think it's hard to predict at this point in time, so let's just see how it goes next year.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, what does 2020 hold for CoinGecko?
Yeah, so I'm very optimistic about 2020. I think if you think about the future where anything that can be tokenized will be tokenized, I think 2020 will see more things being tokenized, and we expect to see number of tokens tracked on CoinGecko to increase to over 10,000 tokens by the end of 2020. At this point in time, we track over 6,000 tokens on CoinGecko, so definitely very interested to see that. We're seeing a lot of trends in the space, so we're seeing a lot of development for exchanges launching tokens such as leverage tokens, a lot of DeFi applications such as things by Set Protocol, thinking of ways how to track this thing and trying to play a role in DeFi. We'll probably see launch of the first central bank digital currency, large corporations launching their tokens as well. So looking forward to see how we can track and play a role in all these things next year.
Very exciting stuff. The New Year's right around the corner, and hopefully many, many exciting things will happen. And of course, we'll check back with you as always to update us on all of it. Thank you, Bobby, so much for joining us. And for all our viewers at home, if you want more on blockchain and cryptocurrency news, make sure to check us out at blocktv.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.